This is the Florida. Get to know the people behind the Florida names you know. I'm your host, Rosanna Catalano. And on this episode, we get to know Nuno Fernandes, the president and CEO of Ilumno, a company dedicated to expanding access to top quality, affordable higher education across Latin America. We're recording today remotely. I'm in my home in Tallahassee, and Nuno is speaking to us from Miami. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Rosanna. It's a pleasure being here.
Well, I am very excited to have you on the show because I'm passionate about education and technology. And by all accounts, Ilumno focuses on both of these things. Can you tell us more about your company?
Absolutely. Lumino was founded in the year 2005, and what we do is that we help higher education institutions that want to go online. We help them with the technology, with their marketing efforts, their enrollment efforts, their retention efforts, and basically we help them being successful in the online higher education industry. In the US, typically a company like us would be called an OPM, online program manager. There are several OPMs in the US. They're not as well known in Latin America. We're kind of the pioneers. And Ilumno is actually the biggest OPM in Latin America, and we're actually among the top 10 worldwide.
Wow. So, what is your reach in Latin America in terms of students, do you think?
Yeah, no, we have about 200,000 students currently in our platform. Most of them are in Colombia, in Argentina, in Brazil, and we also have some in Central America, specifically in Costa Rica and Panama. We are currently expanding to other markets, to Mexico, to Peru. We're looking into Ecuador. So, it's exciting. We're into expansion mode, and hopefully, if we talk again in 1 year, this number will be much larger.
So I did a lot of research on you before this podcast, and it was apparent to me that you really believe in the transformative power of education. Why is that so important to you?
Yeah, I do actually, and I think that the stars were aligned when I could find this job that uh, speaks a lot to me in terms of what we do. When I joined the company in 2013, I really liked the mission of the company of expanding access to education in Latam or globally, whatever that is, because I'm originally from Portugal, and my grandparents, they were farmers. They didn't know how to read or write, and my parents were actually the first ones from their small village that actually got to go to the university and graduate from university, and I could see how that changed the life that my parents could have. My father graduated as a lawyer, and he's a lawyer until today, and my mother was actually a faculty member in one of university in Portugal. So I could see how their life changed because of education, and how their life was significantly different than the life that my grandparents had. And the only reason why that happened was because they had access, they had the opportunity to study. And then for me, it was exactly the same. I'm the second generation of my family that got to go to the university to get access to higher education, and I'm sure that if that would have been the case, I would not be here speaking to you today. So I know that it sounds like a cliche, and probably it is, but I know that education transforms lives. I know that it helps people progress. It helps families having a better quality of life. And overall, when you look at all the metrics and studies and analysis, it's proven that the education is directly related to the progress of a country, economically and socially. So I think it's one of the nice things in this industry is to be able to be involved with something that really touches people in such a deep way, and that helps people hopefully have a better life for them and for their family. So yeah, for me, it's something very dear, and it's also something very dear for everybody in our company. We really nurture that vision that we have of expanding access, and try to reach as many people as we can and try to improve their lives. So yes, it's something very dear to me.
I'm going to back up here for just a second because you talked about um, being from Portugal.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about what it was like growing up there and what your family's like. Were they a close knit family?
Yeah, absolutely. Portugal, for those who don't know, sometimes I get the question, where is that, right? Portugal is a country in the south of Europe. It's borders with Spain. And I was born in a small town located on the Atlantic coast. And basically, I grew up with my grandparents in my early years, living in this small fishing village. And then later on, when my parents finally graduated, I moved to Porto, which is the second biggest city in Portugal. And I moved in with my parents, and my youth and my young years, my childhood, my young years, they were very happy. I mean, we were and we are a very close family. We didn't really have any luxuries or anything like that, but we had everything we needed. And my generation was actually the first one. It's interesting because my generation was the first one that was born in a democracy in Portugal. Portugal was a dictator regime until 1974. I was born in 76. So my generation was the first one that was born under a democracy. And back then, everything was very hard because the country was in transition from a very dark age, if I can call it like that, to, let's say, modern times, right? So it was difficult but exciting at the same time, because after so many decades of this regime, the country was ready to progress and to evolve and to transform itself. So it was an interesting time for me because I could see how the country was changing and shifting and evolving and becoming more modern. But at the same time, it was a country with a lot of challenges, economically speaking. So I would say that my childhood was very happy. I mean, I have the best memories. My family is very close until today. It's a small family, just me and my parents. But, we're very close. We talk every day. Now we have WhatsApp and all these things, so it's much easier. And usually they come for a period of time to spend 1 or 2 months in Miami. This year, unfortunately, because of COVID, they're not coming. But hopefully all of that's going to be over soon. And yeah, because my parents, I guess they were the first ones that had their opportunity. They really knew and they know the value of work and, let's say, integrity and commitment. And that was something that was very present in my life from a very early age, that you have to work very hard. You have to work very hard. And this was something that I listened, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they were very strict in that sense, that I had to overperform and that nothing easy comes without hard work and commitment. And I guess that stayed with me until today. And it's something that I'm very thankful that they teach me.
I'm wondering if your parents know my parents, since I was asked at a young age, are you going to be a doctor or a lawyer? Those were my choices.
Yes. Oh, actually, back then you could only be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. Those were like the jobs that were socially recognized, right? And I wanted to be a doctor. Funny enough, I wanted to be a doctor and I wanted to go to med school because I wanted to be a psychiatrist, because I like to work with mental health. I was always had a fascination for those kind of things. But then I realized that I can't see blood and I can't deal with diseases and hospitals. And every time I go to a hospital, I don't feel well. I feel that I'm going to faint. So I thought it's probably not a good idea to spend 6 years of my life, inside a hospital, seeing blood and diseases every day. And then I thought, what could I study? And I decided to study economics because I think it was broad enough to do anything, right? And that's what an economist does. He does whatever he wants to do, right? So that's why I studied economics, because I thought it was very broad. I didn't want to be labeled just, like as a lawyer or as an engineer. So I decided to do something that was more flexible. And it was not really a strategic decision, just happened that way. But I'm very happy that I took that route.
Yeah, I didn't like the sight of blood either. So I ended up on the law path and went to law school.
Yeah, and my father was a lawyer, and he's a lawyer, and he had clients calling every day at dinner time, and I always thought that was something I didn't want for me, and that's one of the reasons that I didn't study law as well.
So you said you studied economics for your undergraduate degree.
Right.
What university did you attend?
In Porto, the University of Porto, in my city.
And after you completed your degree, where did you work?
Well, yeah. When I finished my degree, I went working for a German company called Bosch. Maybe you heard the name. No, home appliances, car parts, power tools, a lot of things. It's a very large company, one of the biggest German companies, and I've started working for them in Madrid, in Spain, actually. So I spent about 2 years in Madrid, almost 2 years, about 18 months in Madrid with them. And then after that, I went to Brazil. So and then I spent 3 years, 2 or 3 years in Brazil, and then I came back. I spent some time in Germany, and then I went to Mexico with them, and then finally I came to the US with Bosch in the year 2008 as their VP of marketing and product management, and that's how I came to the US. And it's a funny story because we're talking about Florida and Miami. And back then, the idea was that I was going to Detroit because that's where the corporate headquarters is, and the plan was that I was being transferred to Detroit, and Bosch just acquired the company in Fort Lauderdale back then, and then they said, "Well, you're going to go to Fort Lauderdale, South Florida, because you're going to be in charge of the integration plan." And then once I started living here, I never left. Once I was in Fort Lauderdale, then Miami, I didn't want to go to Detroit, and that's why I stayed here.
We do have better weather here in Florida.
Yeah, the weather is slightly better.
So what do you think was one of the most important skills that you learned at that job with Bosch?
I think that when in your career, one of the most important things is when you start is who do you report to? Who is your boss, the person that you are working directly with? And I was very lucky in that sense. I was very blessed that I had a great guy. His name was Freedom Trout, German guy. He was the director of product management, and I was working for him. And he had a lot of knowledge, not only about the company, but about the world in general. And he was a very affable and a very open person. And somehow he took me under his wing, and he was kind of my mentor in that sense. And he taught me a lot of good things that are valid until today. But I would say that one of them was that you always have to be relevant, that you have to make yourself relevant. You have to be seen, and if you're seen, then you're going to get opportunities. But in whatever you do, you have to be relevant. And then one thing that I also learned from him was, how do you measure the value of an employee? And you measure it by thinking what would happen if this person would leave the company tomorrow. And I thought that's really interesting because it's really true, right? Because if you have somebody that leaves the company tomorrow and nothing happens, then the value of that person is very low. Now, if you have somebody that leaves the company tomorrow and then there's a big problem, then the value of that person is very high. And you always have to position yourself in that situation where if you would leave, it would not be good. And that's about being relevant, right? So, and then I was lucky as well that I was exposed to leadership roles at a very young age. When I joined the company, immediately I started leading small teams, and then larger teams, and then fairly large teams. But from a very early age, I had leadership roles, and I've learned that sometimes it's okay to make difficult decisions, and you must do that as a leader. It's just, as a leader, you have to take responsibility and sometimes do things that are not very popular, but you must do them. And I remember that the first time that I had to fire somebody, for me, was really, really hard. And I was about, 24, 25, and I had to fire this person. And for me, it was really, really hard to do it because I thought, about the family and about, everything that you think about when you have to fire somebody, right? But then, I learned, if you don't feel bad when you fire somebody, you are most likely a bad person. But if you don't fire the person because you feel bad, then you are a bad employer and a bad leader. So those are the things that I learned in the early stages of my career. I would say the most relevant ones.
I think those are wonderful things to have taken away from that, and very good advice. So let's take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you about your graduate schooling and how Alumno is growing so rapidly.
Thank you.
At Rocket Ship Consultants, our mission is to launch your business, career, or podcast. Our team works with you to start and grow your business with fresh ideas and inspiration. Let us make key introductions on your behalf and leverage our network of contacts. Talk to us before you send your application in for a new position, a university admission, or a scholarship. From resumes and interview preparation to negotiating offers, our experienced career advisors can help you at all levels achieve your career goals. Let us help you take that dream you have for a podcast or video and turn it into a reality. Rocket Ship Consultants offers a variety of services, so check out our website at rocketshipconsultants.com. Take off with Rocket Ship Consultants and launch your business, career, or podcast with us.
Welcome back. My guest today is Nuno Fernandes, the president and CEO of Ilumno, a company that partners with educational institutions across Latin America. So I know you have an MBA from the W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University. Why did you decide to pursue your graduate degree in the United States?
Yeah, I was living in Mexico at the time, working for Bosch. I've lived in Mexico between 2004 and 2008. And I remember I was about 27 years old at the time, and I wanted to do an MBA. And the US, for me, I was not involved in education by any means. I was working for a German company that produces consumer goods. But I wanted to do an MBA, and for me, the US was always a reference in terms of education and in so many other things, right? But also in education. And Arizona State was just easy to fly to. That's the honest answer. I wish I could tell you something, more advanced and sophisticated, but it was just a nice MBA from a nice school that had good rankings. I like the faculty. I've investigated a lot of MBAs, and it was an executive MBA that I could fly in and fly out, and it was just easy to fly from Mexico City and come back to work again. So that was the main reason. But having said that, it was a great experience and also a great way of doing new contacts and networking, and I still have a lot of dear colleagues that are in my contact list until today.
So you spent some time in Portugal, Spain, Germany, Brazil, Mexico, and obviously the United States for your work. What kind of perspective did you gain from living all over the world?
Yeah, I think a lot of flexibility and a lot of questioning yourself about the things that you believe are correct. Just because you see something in a way, it doesn't really mean that it's the right way. Usually we take what we know as absolute truths because that's what we know, but it is often not like that because there are many truths, right? And I think the food is a very good example about it because, like in Mexico, in some parts of the country, they eat snakes, right? And most people would say that that's terrible, but for them it's normal because they were born with that and they were raised with that. Now, if you tell a person from India that you are eating a cow, they will think it's a sin. But for us, it's perfectly normal. But in certain countries, pork is not allowed, but we all love bacon, right? And then in Portugal, we eat rabbit, and here the rabbits are pets. So which one is right? And the truth is that I believe they all are correct, and because they're all part of a set of values and culture that is usually very deep within the society. And I think that my takeaway is to be able to question everything, and I think that helped me with my job, and that I always try to question everything to see, is this really the right way of doing things, or is there another way? Or just because we've been doing this way, I'm sure that there might be some other way of doing it, or at being able to question everything. I think that's the most important takeaway from my international experience.
Now let's talk about Ilumno. You began working there, I think it was around 2013. What attracted you to the company, and what was your first position there?
Yeah, I was really attracted to the company because of what I mentioned in the beginning, that we were able to work with schools to expand the access to education. So we were able to touch people in a very significant way, right? I think there are three moments in life that are really significant. And I'm going to tell you what those moments are. The first one is, what do you study? Because what do you study kind of defines your life pattern. If I would have studied to be a doctor, I would not be here talking to you today. My life would be probably better, worse, it doesn't matter, but it would certainly be different because I would be a doctor. I would not be what I am today. And that's because I decided to study in a med school. So what you study has a very deep impact in your life. The second one is, would you get married to? And the third one is if you have kids. Those are the three moments for me that are really significant in life. Now, in our company, we don't impact the people you get married to or if you have kids or not, but we do impact one of the three of them, which is, what do you study and if you study? And I thought that that's really relevant, and I honestly feel very blessed that we have the opportunity of working with our partners, with the universities, to expand and bring education to millions of people in Latin America. If you think about Latin America, in most countries, the participation rate of higher education is less than 50%. So that means that one of every two persons, they can't access higher education for whatever reason that might be. But that's not bad, because 2 decades ago it was 25%. So it's going in the right direction, and we're part of within our possibilities. We're very happy to be helping the countries and the societies to become more educated. So I guess that was what attracted me. And my first role was, I was the senior vice president of marketing for the company.
Now, you helped achieve extraordinary growth rates for your company. According to your website, Alumno is now one of the fastest growing university networks in Latin America, obtaining for its educational partners the #1 and #3 positions in Colombia and #1 in Argentina in terms of market share.
Yeah.
What do you think was key for you all to have such growth in Latin America?
Yeah, I think one of the important factors that we were the first ones. We were the first ones to kind of bring this online program management model to LATAM. So that gave us a very strong position. We got the right partners, so we partnered with the right schools. That's very important. The market was growing by itself, organically. So we entered in a growing market, which is always good, that you are part of a market that is growing. I would say the fourth factor is that we're part of a global group that has the resources to invest, and now we keep expanding to other countries, to Mexico, to Ecuador, to Peru, and to other parts of the world, which I'll be happy to talk about that too. But I would say that the most important factor, the number 5, is that we have a great team. I think that in every company I've seen, in every company that I've worked for, in every country that I've been, the great companies are always the ones with great people. I mean, I've never seen a great company that does not have great people. But coincidentally, all the bad ones have not so great people. So there's a pattern there that the team is highly important, the ambition, the motivation, the aggressiveness. And I think we do have a great team, and I think that's part of our success.
You quickly rose through the ranks at Ilumno to become the CEO and president. What do you attribute your success to?
I have a lot of weaknesses, but I do think I have one important strength, and one of my strengths, one of the few ones, is that I believe I have a very good eye for people, and that has been key to the success of the company. As I was just telling you, every great company is made of great people. There's a direct correlation there. And in the end, as a CEO, you are directing the show, you are giving the strategy, but you're not really doing anything, because most of the times people are doing that for you. So you need great people to work with you. Otherwise, you can't be successful. It's impossible. I don't believe in one-man show. It never happens. It's a lie. Even when people say it is true, it's a lie. Even when there's only one public face, there's always a great team behind. So my success, the success of any CEO or anybody that is leading a company, big, small, medium, is always the team that we have. And I believe that in that sense is one of my few strengths, is that I think I have a good eye for people. Most of the people that are working with me, they have been working with me since the beginning, since I've joined the company. They developed themselves such as I did. It's an ever-evolving process. I'm certainly not the same one I was 7 years ago, but the people that work directly with me, they're not the same they were 7 years ago. So we're very proud that all of our management team at Ilumno is composed from people that came from Ilumno. They were formed and trained at Ilumno. We don't really have anybody from the outside. Not that it could not happen. Certainly it could. There's nothing wrong with that. But our VP of Finance, our VP of HR, our COO, our CTO, everybody comes from within, and they are part of a development process that has happened in the last 6 or 7 years, and that also developed them. So yeah, I think that the success of the company, I don't like to say my success because doesn't really matter what my success is or not. It's the success of the company is composed by the fact that we do have a great set of people working for us.
Your company focuses on Latin America, yet you live in the United States, and you've talked about expanding into other markets. So why are you in the United States and your company focuses on Latin America?
Yeah, so our company is part of a global group, and we do have similar efforts than the ones we have in Latin America, in Europe, and in South Africa, and we're expanding to the Middle East. The reason why our office is in Miami is just because it's so easy to travel to Latin America from Miami. So it's a great hub, and that's the reason. We do have a small office in Miami. Most of our operation is in Latin America, specifically in Bogota, Colombia, and in Rio, Brazil. So in Bogota, Colombia, we have a large office with about 600 employees. And in Rio in Rio, Brazil, we have a large office with about 500 employees. So the teams are in Latin America. It's just some of the leadership roles, they are in Miami, and just because it's easy to travel and it's a great hub. And I'm also involved with other efforts globally. So for me, it's also easier. Well, now it doesn't really matter because you can't really go anywhere, right? But before COVID, if I had to go to South Africa or to Europe, it's easier to move to fly from Miami than from South America. So that's the reason.
So your company, Ilumno, brings best practices and processes and technology to these academic institutions. I'm curious as to how you all assess and determine which of these practices and processes and which technology your company is going to bring under their umbrella and offer.
Yeah, great question. Higher education is becoming increasingly competitive in worldwide. In Latin America, it's no different, right? There's a lot of competition now, more than ever because of COVID. But let's forget that for 1 second, because even without COVID, the market was extremely competitive. So as a university, what you need to do is that you need to provide a great enrollment experience, fast, efficient, useful, and then you have to provide great services along the student journey. And the students today, either when they are enrolling or when they are studying and they need a service, they like everything to be available right there, on your phone with a few clicks. They don't want to be calling anybody. Certainly, they don't want to be going to the university and be on waiting for 2 hours to sign a paper or something. You want everything to be readily available. So what we're trying to do is to work with our partners to provide these incredible experiences, either when you are enrolling in a program or when you are a student, and using technology to do that, using technology to be able to provide very pleasant experiences, but very efficient and very fast. So when you think about that, we're doing a lot of experimentation with AI, and we're doing a lot of experimentation with algorithms and business intelligence and data to try to understand the behaviors of the students and try to create patterns that support that behavior and that support them until the graduation. So we have a specific team, a BI team, and we have a team of data scientists that is every day studying what happens with students and what their problems are, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide better experiences either when you are enrolling or when you are already a student until your graduation.
So I noticed that your Instagram, I'm going to take you away from Ilumno for a second, that your Instagram is filled with photographs of one person in particular. Can you tell us about him?
Yeah, I mean, there's only one person there, so I assume I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, that's my son. His name is Luca. He's 7 years old. He lives in Miami, and yeah, it's a very important person for me, as you can imagine, right? It sounds like a cliche, and it probably is. But when I became a father, it kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things, and especially on the focus and the drive. And I travel a lot for work. Even now, I still travel more in the US, but I travel a lot. But I do have this kind of deal with him that wherever I'm in the world, I always come back on Friday night. So on Fridays, I'm always here. I spend the weekend with him, and then usually I leave on Sunday night or Monday morning. And yeah, it's just the person I spend all my weekends with. And we like to do boys thing, cars and sports and all these things. And yeah, it's I don't know, it's very hard. Sometimes I think, like, am I being a good father? It's very hard because nobody teaches you that, right? It's one of the things, or even for a mother, there's no training for that. You just one day wake up and now you're a father, right? And now, okay, just figure it out. And I guess I'll never know. I'll have to ask Luca one day when he's older if I'm, if I'm a good father or not. But I certainly try to be, and yeah, I'm very blessed to have him in my life.
I think it depends on what age you ask them if you're a good father, because I have a 13-year-old and I'm pretty sure, and an 11-year-old, and I'm pretty sure if you asked either one of them now, I probably wouldn't pass the test.
Right. But in a few years
ago, I was fantastic.
And in a few years, you're going to be fantastic again, right? So that's how it happens.
That's how it works.
Yeah, that's how it works.
We often talk to women about the balance of work and family. Is there a secret to how you're trying to keep the balance with obviously all of your travel commitments? I know you talked about returning on Friday. Is there anything else or a tip that you can give to our listeners?
I'm not a good person to talk about balancing work and family, quite frankly. But I'm the only balance that I have is that I have that agreement with myself and with my son that every Friday, wherever I am, unless it's something extraordinary, and I can tell you in the last 4 years, I think I've missed 4 weekends. So unless something extraordinary happens, wherever I am, I come back. And then I go away on Sunday or Monday, or sometimes I don't. I stay in Miami. There's sometimes that I don't travel as well. But I'm not a good person to talk about balancing personal life with work life.
So what is next for you and your company?
Yeah, so we have a lot of exciting things going on in terms of expansion, as I said. I think we're going to be growing significantly. Our group, the part of the group that we are, I think the group is going to be growing significantly in Latin America, specifically in Mexico and Peru. And we're very hopeful as well about Ecuador. So we have high expectations about Ecuador, but certainly Mexico and Peru. We are doing a lot of efforts in Africa. We already have 9 partners in South Africa. Some of the most important schools in the country are working with us. And we're now going into more exotic places that we've never been, like Kenya and Ghana. We're signing partners in those countries, and we're very excited about that because we're the first ones, and our partners will be the first ones to provide online education in the country. We're signing a few deals in Spain and in the UK, and we're looking at France and Germany. So there's a lot of there's a lot of things going on, and I think that the future of the company is going to be this global expansion, and we are, like I told we are already the biggest OPM in Latin America. Our target is to become the largest OPM worldwide in time. It's not gonna happen in a few months, but that in time, that's our ambition. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you are right on your way. So we like to end our show with a little bit of fun by asking all of our guests the same 7 questions. So what would people be surprised to know about you?
Yeah. When I was in the university in 1998, I opened the first surf school in Portugal. Well, not in Portugal, my city. I had a surf school. It was a way of making money to study. And myself and friends, we bought a few surfboards, and in the summer we had a surf school. It was the first one, and after that, a lot of followed. Back then, surf was not very popular in Portugal. Not like today, that's like California. Every kid is surfing, but back then we opened the first surf school, and it was kind of successful.
So you've always been a trailblazer. When you have guests in town, where is your favorite place to take them?
It depends, because some guests, they come to Miami the first time and they want to see the typical things: Lincoln Road, Ocean Drive, Versace House, all those things that honestly I don't go if I don't have guests. Like I think the last time I went to Ocean Drive was maybe 2 years ago, and so I don't really go to those let's say typical touristical spots. But sometimes I have friends from Europe, especially, that they've never been to Miami and they want to see those places, and I enjoy taking them. But if it's if our guests that are repeated guests, that they've been to the city before, there are a lot of restaurants that I enjoy in Miami. I'm a bit of a foodie, so I like to try food, and I like restaurants and all kinds of restaurants. So in Miami, I have a few ones that I like, and I'm not paid by anybody to do any advertising, but I like. There's a Greek one called Mandolin that I love, with the Design District. There's another one that is fairly new, about 2 years old, in downtown. That's called Novikov, which is more like upscale, but it's really nice. The food is really nice. There's a Cuban one, which is the opposite of Novikov. There's a Cuban one on Calle Ocho called El Cristo, which I love. And it's like the typical Cuban place. They're speaking in Spanish, and they serve you lechon and all these things. So it's delicious. So yeah, there's a few restaurants that I like in the city and that I like to take my friends. I've personally liked to go to the Frost Museum. I think it was something that it was very nicely done, and a good decision for the city, because we didn't have anything like that. And I go with Luca a lot. I mean, by a lot, I mean like maybe 3 times per year. But I like to go to see the planetarium and all these things, and I think it's nicely done. So yeah, there's a few spots that I like to go in Miami.
What is the name of a book you recently read that you could not put down, or the name of a show you enjoyed binge watching?
Oh my God, just last week I was watching this one, The Queen's Gambit. Have you seen it on Netflix?
We saw it actually just last week. It was so excellent. Wonderful.
I could not
Loved it.
stop.
Learned so much more about chess than I didn't know.
I thought it was so powerful and so nicely done, and I could not stop. I watched it in one day. So, in fact, it's a true story. I thought it was amazing. It was amazing. I didn't know the actress, but I thought she was phenomenal. And a book that I'm sorry?
I said yes, and you were going to tell us about a book?
It's phenomenal, and I'd never heard about it, but I thought it was so powerful, especially the last episode. The last episode, I mean, just giving me the chills just thinking about it. It's just really, really powerful. I know the book that I've read recently, let me think about that. I've read The Lost City of the Monkey God. I don't know if you read that one. It's about a lost city in Honduras that they find the city, and the book is fascinating. I'm not going to tell you what it is about. I recommend that you buy it, called The Lost City of the Monkey God. It's a very, very nice book.
Thank you. So among your close family and friends, what are you best known for?
I think most of them would say that I'm a bit obsessed about work. Some of them would say that I'm probably a bit OCD about it. And yeah, I think that would be the general definition.
If you have a nickname, who gave it to you?
I don't. Not that I'm aware of, at least. Maybe I do, but
Maybe you have one. It's just behind your back.
exactly. Maybe at the office I have like 10 of them, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm not familiar with one.
If you knew you could not fail, what would you attempt?
You know what I want? I've always wanted to skydive, and I've never done it, but I've always wanted to do it. So maybe one day I'll find myself inside the plane with a parachute on my back. So.
What are the top 3 things you love about living in Florida?
I can talk more about Miami because that's what I know better. Although, I've traveled to Florida, certainly to Orlando and Fort Lauderdale and Palm Beach and all these places. But in Miami specifically, I very much enjoy the international flavor, the Latin spice of the city. I think it's very interesting, quite unique. Most of the times I like the weather, except in the summer. But if you take the summer out, the weather is fantastic. And I like that it was becoming, and I hope that we don't lose that because of COVID, it was becoming a real entrepreneurial city, with a lot of startups, a lot of venture capital coming into the city to support new projects. And I hope that we don't lose that with the situation, or that it comes back rapidly. So it's a very interesting city. For a while, Miami was more, services oriented, tourism, of course, hotels, events, and it still is. But in the last 2 years, and I'm talking before COVID, I was seeing a lot of entrepreneurial movements, in the city, a lot of startups being created, a lot of funds investing in small projects and in new kids with great ideas. And I hope that we can keep that, because I think there's a lot of talent here in South Florida, and sometimes you have to leave the state to develop it, and I don't see why that would be.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. You've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you, Rosanna. It's been a pleasure.
So be sure to subscribe to our podcast on all your favorite podcasting listening platforms. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Visit our website to see some extras regarding this episode. Our audio editor for this podcast episode is Joy Tootle with Rocket Ship Consultants. And if you're interested in starting a live stream or podcast, contact Joy at rocketshipconsultants.com. Thank you for tuning in.